All right, we'll go ahead and get started, big bro. You good?
Yes, sir.
What, episode 13?
13, the big 1-3.
Big 13. All right, hey, listen. First off, we appreciate y'all for coming in and giving us y'all time as always. I'm legendary, always co-hosted by the big bro Mike G. If you want to follow us on the YouTube channel is Parallel Gens. Gens is GENZ. It's easy if you just want to just go to the link in our bios. Just click the YouTube channel. And go ahead and subscribe. All the episodes that you missed from previous podcasts, they're up there. This is episode 13, just what Big Bro said. Honestly, as always, we appreciate y'all for holding it down on the ones and twos. And then, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Big Bro, you got an intro you want to give to the world?
Oh, yeah. Hey, I hope everyone had a great week this week. You know, weather was getting a little bipolar across the country, wherever you at. So you may have gotten some snow and things like that. But we are glad you're here tonight. Eyes and Lee, we thank you as always for being the people that run the things behind the scenes and make sure that we stay on track and we get our stuff together. Thank you all for coming in, though. We hope that you all have a enlightening experience tonight. Also, if you have questions, just drop them in the chat. Eyes and Lee will write them down and we will come back and answer them after we've gone through all three topics that we're going to talk about tonight. So just write the questions down. And if your question is not asked, maybe it got filtered or something like that, so go ahead and just retype it. We don't mind doing that, but we will hold questions and answers at the end of the three sessions. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a couple financial planning. We have 3 bullets up under that. We'll talk about them. We're going to talk about what we talk about loving people in their love language, and we're going to talk about conflict language. That's not talked about very often. We're also going to talk about, should the father be on the birth certificate if he's not involved in a child's life from birth or any time. Those are 3 things we're going to talk about. All right, my brother, you can go ahead and kick it off.
All right. So financial planning was the first topic that we're going to discuss. All right. I just wanted to just break it down into 2 parts, but obviously, I'm gonna let the big bro speak on this well. So financial planning, right? The two that you should always be aware of when we're talking about getting engaged or when we're talking about getting married is it going to be with kids and without kids as well, right? So you want to ensure that you are planning accordingly, especially if you don't have kids and you have the potential to want kids, like you both want kids. All right, so the first thing that I would say is the same thing with every subject that we talk about it as far as getting into something serious that can be life-changing, and that is go seek financial counseling for couples, right? I feel like that a lot of times is it's more so downplayed because you're just so used to doing things individually. But what you need to understand is that now that you're going to be doing things together, so you have to be able to change. You have to be willing to change, and then you have to understand that the things that you used to do prior by yourself, you can no longer do if it don't fit in the budgeting or if it don't fit into the plan of you two being successful when it comes to the financial aspect of your lives. So outside of you doing financial counseling, right? Then you have to understand the basics, and then the basics to me is essentially what the bank account information looks like. So here's what I would suggest. This is just me. Again, this is no absolutes. However it is that you sit down and you talk to your partner, and if it works, it works. But there needs to be a joint account, and then I am a firm believer in you having your own account, and then I have my own account. Now, what that looks like moving forward is the main checks go into the joint account. This is where we pay the bulk of the bills, the main bills, and then you can allocate other funds to go to individual accounts if that works out, and or you can do it on allotments. Allotments is essentially before your checks even hit your accounts, it just get allocated, it get pulled away, and it goes directly into your personal checking or your spouse personal checking. And it's something that could help because you don't necessarily see the money coming out of the account, because before you even get paid, it automatically allocates it and shifts it over. So I think that helps. So again, joint account, and then you having your 2 individual accounts. Now with the individual accounts, this is just something that I would say anything that's over $500. Now again, whatever number that you come up with that you feel like is comfortable, or hey, we should sit down and we should discuss. That's something between you and your partner. But for me, I would say anything over $500 is something that you need to sit down and you need to discuss. because it kind of gives you leeway to get the things that you want to get in a sense, right? You see these pair of shoes that you want. I mean, because it's okay for you to buy things for yourself. That's perfectly fine as long as it's not something that's on a consistent basis that's consistently pulling, from your joint account. But then you might want to go out to eat, or you might want to get something for the kids, or you might want to do X, Y, and Z. I feel like everything that's under like $500 in a sense is appropriate. Once things starts going over $500, all right, we need to sit down and we need to discuss. You gotta talk about long term as far as, hey, is this going to be a consistent thing? How will this affect us when we're talking about building financial freedom? How is this going to affect us when we're talking about going to the goals that we in a sense talked about prior to us coming together or bringing the money together? So this is things that you should all discuss. I have more into that, but big bro, what you got? I'm gonna go ahead and let you talk.
Yeah. Hey, I was a little worried because I know you love these finances, man. So I could probably just sit back and just take notes on this one. But seriously, though, I do like what you started off with about the financial counseling. And that's just a good idea in general to go through some type of counseling as a couple when you start becoming one and being together, because it just helps you identify a lot of things that may be issues that you hadn't thought about, because we can't think of everything, right? So that definitely the financial counseling piece, 'cause that's one of the things that lead to a lot of divorces is the money part. So I would recommend that for anybody, at least sit down and have a real serious discussion with someone about the finances though. That would be the first thing. So I do, so I've been married before, and what I did was I enjoyed all the money going into one account. We had our individual accounts like you said, but then I got my allowance because a lot of people in here know that I have this guilty pleasure that's called golf. And I have to be able to go golfing. So and everybody knows that there is nothing coming between me and my golf. So I need a little allowance, and I like the 500. That's what I did. I had a $500 allotment that went to me. No, I just took the money out and put it into my own separate account. That way, I had money to pay for my golf, save up and buy clubs and things like that. But I do definitely believe that it should be one joint account where where the couple is using it to do whatever, whether it's for the bills, whether it's for the investments, whether it's for the entertainment or whatever. That's where the money would come from. Or you can have a separate pot for entertainment and things like in vacations like that. But it should be one main account. And in a general sense, there should be a meeting held probably monthly. I would say monthly, just to sit down and I would never ever give someone total access to the funds. And I don't know what's going on with them. If I let someone manage them, you can manage it. I want to sit down and I want to count for everything on a regular basis. So that way it won't be no confusion about what's going on. All right. We can go ahead and jump into it a little bit more. That's my opening statements on it though.
Yeah. So just to add on to what Big Bro said, right? So the budgeting aspect, this is something that you consistently need to do, right? A lot of times, we are adults. We're like, man, I don't got to write things down, because a lot of us are visuals, but a lot of us, we just got in our head like, hey, I can budget in my head. All I need to do is allocate the bills. I got my little free money, and then I got, money to do X, Y, and Z with. But if you do that, quite often you will find out that you're missing steps. So the example I like to give is, let's just say that you going grocery shopping, and then let's say that you in Walmart or wherever you do your grocery shopping at, and you have the list in your head. You get what you need, and then on your way home after you bought the stuff, you're like, oh man, I done forgot the eggs. I done forgot the milk. Now, to some of you, they might be like, that's something simple. That's an easy fix. I can go back. But when you think of it as a budgeting aspect, this is mistakes that you don't want to make, because now the mistakes that you make, those small mistakes turn to big things. I.e., it'll start messing up your credit. All right, you'll start seeing your bank account being drained versus it being profitable. Things of that nature. So it's important, just what Big Bro said, to just sit down and you have these monthly meetings when it comes to budgeting, so that you can always rearrange or reallocate things and etc. And it's not more so of micromanaging; it's just more so of you understanding that your financial situation, things change on a month-to-month basis, even if you don't think so. Especially when you're talking about bringing two people and then making them one. In addition to that, though, you also have to talk about the type of resources that you can use to help you save money. So what that looks like, just to give you a background, is if I had zero problem saving money, and then now that we together, and I'm constantly seeing that the money is getting drained, right? Because now it's two incomes versus one income. So we should be consistently saving more versus us, allocating money out. So this is where you maximize resources from. So if you like to coupon, you can coupon. If you want to do things on discount or buy things while they discounted, you can do that. Now I understand this is going to take um, a lot of pride and ego and put to the side so that you can, get these. Understanding that, even though you want these shoes right here, you can just wait for it to get on a discount. Or even if you see this bag that you want, you can wait for it to get on discount. You don't need to upgrade your car every year. You ain't got to get the latest iPhone every year. It's just really just maximizing resources to allocate so that you can save and that you can prepare for, the whatever goals that you have, i.e., buying a house, paying kids colleges, etc. The main thing though is this is going to be controversial, but you have to understand what your individual debts are prior to you coming together. All right. So what that looks like is, let's just say that I'm with someone who has student loan, and because she has student loans, it could potentially be a problem with us getting credit to buy a house. Since I said that she's my partner, am I obligated to help her pay those student loans? Am I obligated to allocate some money, on top of what she's already paying, etc.? A lot of people don't agree with that. They're like, hey, all the debts that you had prior to us getting married is all yours. But if you're saying, hey, you're gonna build a life together, why not help that in that aspect? Why not allocate more money towards that? Because her debt is now your debt and vice versa, especially when you're talking about building life together. I just want you to think about those things. And this is some of the things that comes up into the counseling aspect of what we talked about. In addition to that, if you want to allocate who pays what, because you know how it is in today's society, 50-50, 100%, you already know how myself and Big Bro think. But what I think in my head, how it could possibly work if we truly just want to be, safe, is I make enough money for the both of us. And it's not me bragging, boasting, none of that, but I just do. So I can pay all the bills, and the money that she has can go directly into savings. That way we can still stay on top of all the bills, and we still allocate stuff towards the saving. In addition to that, you have to plan for worst case scenario. Now, what that looks like is, let's just say that there's emergency expenses, and let's just say that we both have individual health care. The one thing that you can allocate to help maximize resources is you bringing your health care together. That'll help. And then in addition to that, you get into these financial situations that you, in a sense, haven't planned for. Worst case scenario, it's not stressful. You're not using your credit cards, or you're not maximizing your credit cards to pay for the things that come up. Again, there's more to that, but Big Bro, what you got?
No, I'm just going to touch on a couple of things you talked about. We've already talked about it a little bit, but you have to be very deliberate about your finances and how that's going to work. You can't ignore it. You can't sweep it under the rug, because just like he said, the one thing that I wrote down was the cars and spending. We may have two different ideas about how that thing works out, right? How I want to get a new car every 2 years, or for me, I kept a car for 10 years, 360 some thousand miles on it, because that money that I was spending on them car payments was going to other stuff building. So it just depends on what you're doing. But you have to sit down and talk about those things. You can't assume them, because if you assume them, you're gonna, we already know what assuming does. So, and you have two individuals, especially getting older in life, two individuals that have lived a certain way. So if you don't talk about those things, if you let them happen, it could be a big argument later on in life. You're just trying to prevent those type of arguments by sitting down and talking about them, and making sure that they're cleared up and y'all on the same page. There is nothing better than bringing two incomes together, and maybe having one that take care of the main things and the other to take care of the investments, the savings, and the vacation and things like that. You can get to financial wealth, build your financial history up better with two people than one if you're working together. I don't believe in having two separate accounts and operating out of two separate accounts. I don't think that. What's the point of being together then? You know what I'm saying? So I prefer that we do it together, and I don't mind the allowance thing. And even sometimes my lady, she can have a little bit more than me, because she needs some things more than I need. Sometimes as far as just basic needs, things she needs. So I definitely believe in that. But one household, one account with separate accounts for your little fun things you want to do. I just think that's what you have to do. That way you can prevent a lot of things becoming a negative in the long run.
The last thing I'll add to it is just what you spoke about a little bit earlier, as far as like who manages the bills 100%. So let's just say that, hey, for whatever reason, my significant other has a better understanding of the financial situation that we're in. This is just my own thought process. There's no reason for me not to know where money is getting allocated towards. And again, it's not more so of micromanaging. It's more so, what if, again, if we're talking about, life happens in a sense, what if she gets hurt? What if something happens to her to where now the responsibility has been shifted to me and I don't know where things need to go? I don't know how to pay the mortgage. I don't understand what's been coming out of this account, who's been paying what. So this is why it's important for you to sit down and you to budget so that everyone's always on the same page at all times. And if we need to adjust things, you're not out in the dark. You know how to pay things, and things can consistently transition if, hypothetically speaking, something happens to your partner.
I can say this, and I know I can speak for Legendary when I say this. We don't mind you getting a little extra in your account to make sure you get them toes, them nails done, and you're looking good when we coming home from whatever. We won't mind that at all. So yes, we're gonna give you a little bit extra so you can look nice when we come home or when we go out and things like that, because we know that we don't require all that. You just give us a t-shirt, some jeans, and some tennis shoes. More than likely, we good. Maybe some shoes also. But anyway, just my point is that's why you can get a little bit extra, because we want you to be looking nice. We don't want you to have to look like that you're 80, 90 years old. We want you to be looking smooth. And then I know that. Go ahead. No, my bad. Go ahead.
You on the road, all right. And then so for us, you know what I'm saying, like, haircuts has been expensive. Like, I'm talking about consistently going up. So probably about 12, 13, 14 years ago, I started cutting my own hair. So, hey, since I've been doing that, I've been saving a bulk of money. But yeah, that's all I really have for this, unless you got anything else.
No, that's it. Just one last point of that. Just make sure you sit down and talk about the finances, and make sure that you don't let that be a problem, because it shouldn't be. It should be easy. It should be some open, honest communication about it, and it should not be a thing of a negative thing. It should be a positive, because you're trying to come together as one. So why not bring that together as one as well, and make sure you can get your little bit to do whatever you need to do on your own, though. All right, my brother. So we're gonna jump into the next topic. We'll be talking about what about the conflict languages? I don't know if everyone knows about these conflict languages, but there are conflict languages. We always talk about the love languages, right? But what about the conflict languages? Do you want to jump on that one, or you want me to start?
You go ahead, start.
Okay. So a few things that I want to mention about conflict languages. These are negatives, right? These are things that you're doing in your communication, in your body language or whatever, that's bringing negative atmosphere or negative energy into the relationship. And a couple of them that I wrote down would be being aggressive, being defensive, being passive, and constructive. Constructive meaning when you start a conversation, you started out with you. You did this, you did that, you always doing this, you don't do that. That's not going to have any positive outcomes at all. So make sure that you sit down. I am a pure advocate of talking about everything. So if that happens, you have to sit down and say, look here. Well, see, look what I said, look here. Hey, look, I need to talk to you for a second. I'm feeling some kind of negative energy going on. Can we talk about this? And then you have to talk about it. So that's my opening on that, brother. I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, like, so from a man's perspective, anytime we hear our girlfriend, wife, significant other, anytime we hear, hey, wait, we got to talk. What's the first thing we think of? We're like, oh, man. Here we go. What did I do now?
What did I do?
When you start off a conversation like that, it's never positive for us in that aspect, right? Hey, we gotta talk. You're like, oh Lord, what happens now? But yeah, just what we're saying, right? So there's just certain ways on how you should start things, even if it is negative. You just don't want to start off in that, and then obviously we know about the negatives. So when you always blaming the other person, or when you never taking accountability in the aspect as far as that goes when it comes to you saying things that you truly passionate about, but you just want to make sure that it get across the right way. It's just it's more so of how you say certain things, right? Because once you start off in a way to where it's aggressive, then now as a man, I feel like immediately that I have to defend myself. Only because if you come off as aggressive, I don't really understand what you're saying. because all I'm hearing is you know what I'm saying, you really pushing the subject, and I'm only thinking of ways to respond, and I'm not really listening to you. If that makes sense. So again, I'm not saying that you can't say, you know, things that's bothering you or say things how you truly feel, but it's just a way of how you say it. And the same thing for the men. We're not exempt from it as well. How we talk to our significant other, how we talk to our woman says a lot about our character and our morals and how we was raised in a sense. And if you want the productivity that you need, you have to understand how to properly communicate. Just what Big Bro say all the time. Body language. Body language says a lot. When you talking and you got your arms folded, what is it that you're saying? You know what I'm saying? When you're talking and you looking away, it's also saying like, hey, I'm not really paying attention. I really don't care. So when you communicate, you also have to be aware of how your body language is positioned when you're talking to the person that you say that you love, or you talking to the person that you say that you want to be in a committed relationship with. Body language is a lot of the language or a lot of the communication that happens when couples sit down and you talk. So if you wanted to have a comfortable environment, this is what I always say. Don't have anything in between y'all, right? So like a table or anything like, don't have anything in between y'all. Just have a open space to where you can both see each other. There's no type of obstruction going on, because once you do that, it makes it seem like one person is in charge and the other person is in trouble in a sense. Some of you might not see it that way, but I'm telling you from a military perspective, when we have a desk in front of us or we have something in front of you when you're talking, one person is in charge and one person is in trouble or listening, etc. It's hard to say that it's a two-way street when you have things in between you. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on before I give it back to Big Bro is the controlling aspect. When you, in a sense, just want things done your way, it's unfair to your partner. Now, the only time that I could, in a sense, say, okay, that's allowed is when you control into an aspect that's going to help the person, as far as maybe they don't see something that could possibly hurt them long term. Maybe it's something that you're doing right now could potentially lead to you getting hurt. And I mean that in a physical aspect, not in a mental aspect. But you know, you consistently doing X, Y, and Z. You going out drinking every weekend. I'm consistently telling you not to. All right, now I got to start implementing things to ensure that you don't hurt yourself and all others. But I'm a firm believer on not doing things as far as the controlling aspect to force you to do anything that you want to do. And if you listen to the previous podcast, you kind of understand the mindset that I'm in. I always want you to do the things that you want to do. And it's not to say that I genuinely don't care or I'm nonchalant about it. It's just more so of like, I just want you to understand that I trust you enough to allow you to do those things, because you don't just tell me that you love me, you make me feel that. You create that safe space. You make it feel comfortable for me to genuinely go out there and trust you. So if I have to implement things because now you're doing things that's not conducive to our relationship and what we're trying to build, now I have to put things in place to ensure your safety and the safety of others. Big Bro, what you got?
Yeah, I like all that. I really ditto to everything you just said. But for me, to be totally transparent, I had to learn. I had to learn this because we don't learn how to communicate when we're growing up. We learn get over there and sit your mouth down. You know this is a grown folks conversation. We never learn that. So we grow up in those type of situations all the time. So I had to learn how to listen and not be defensive. I was very good at being defensive. I didn't do that. What you mean? I didn't do that. You know, I would say that all the time. And knowing that she may be right a little bit, but I wasn't giving in though because I didn't know how to communicate. So it was something that I really focused on, and I tried my best to do it. If you notice, and I think you probably noticed, when people are talking, I don't open my mouth. I just listen, and I try to make sure I'm not even thinking of an answer to say things, because if I'm thinking of an answer to say something, I'm really not listening to that person. So I try my best to listen, and you have to do the same thing in relationships where you have to allow your partner to speak. There's nothing better than knowing that your partner is going to let you speak and going to let you get your thought across, and then they're going to let you know that they understood you by dealing with that versus automatically trying to give an answer to the situation. So that defensive thing is a really communication and a relationship record, because it breaks down your communication and it doesn't allow you to be effective in communicating with one another and solving issues and problems in your relationship. I am a firm believer in when people talk, there should never be any arguing or fighting about it. It never should be. You can't give me one reason why. Because even if it was something, say for instance, somebody committed infidelity, I ain't got to sit there and talk to you about it. I know somebody gonna be leaving the house. Ain't nothing to talk about. So ain't no sense in arguing and fighting about it. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna move on from that. But really look at it and really make sure you listen to your partner. And then if not, because we like I said, we don't get a book on it. If they're not communicating the correct way, it's not a negative. Sit down and talk about it and share how you think communication should go and share the things they can, or even take a communication class. That may even help you out also. If you all can't do it together, maybe maybe both of you take a communication class together just to make sure you clear it up, because a lot of times most things can be cleared up just by sitting down and talking openly and honestly about it. But it doesn't get cleared up because you'll talk about something I did 2 months ago, and we talking about I did something wrong today, but now we on what I did 2 months ago because we don't know how to effectively communicate. So I think it's just about how you talk to your partner. And for men, especially, like if somebody start yelling and screaming at me, I'll shut down quick. Because I can't take that, because my mind will not let me think in that arena in a positive way. So all right, I turn it back over to you, bro.
Yeah. So just to add on to what you were saying, so there's a difference when it comes to active listening and then you actually hearing things. So when you talk about active listening, right, and when we're talking about the communication aspect, you got to understand someone talks, and then as they talk, it's coded, right? I don't know if you understand that, but when someone talks, you know what I'm saying, like it's coded. Then the person who's listening is going to receive it, who's actively listening is going to receive it, and then they're going to decode what it is that the person who was talking, what they coded. And it's more so of you understanding essentially what they're saying, and then you kind of download it so that you can respond accordingly. And then once you respond, then that cycle just consistently continues. And then on the hearing aspect, right, because we have active listening and then we have hearing. So hearing is just essentially you not actively hearing in a way of active listening, but it's more so you aware of sounds. So let's just say that you in a room and you can hear your refrigerator go off. You're not actively listening to it, but you can hear it. You're not actively listening to sirens that's going off when they pass by your house in a sense, but you can hear it in that aspect. So just kind of understand just what Big Bro was saying. When it comes to you being aggressive in the first part, it automatically, just for men, and I don't want to speak for all men, but for most of us, we automatically get into defensive mode because all we hearing and feel is just you being aggressive. So we're not listening no more. We hearing certain things, we picking and choosing what we want to hear and what we want to respond to. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have.
Yep. Hey, communication is the key to everything. Whether you're talking about finances, whether you're talking about what you're doing in the bedroom, whether you're talking about how you raise the kids, if you cannot communicate, you're going to have issues. So you have to get that right. You have to get that right, and you have to be able to do it effectively. And that's why it should always start from the very beginning. It should start even before you think that's your person. You should start communicating on the first time you go out with someone. And that should be an important thing y'all talk about, how y'all going to communicate with one another. And I like to do it in person, but sometimes you can't. You do it over the phone. But FaceTime, and you can see some nonverbals going on in FaceTime also. So figure out a way to do it. Figure out a way to make sure that you don't let that be a hindrance to you growing to whatever relationship you're going to be in. And sometimes you may come to the agreement that you're not going to have a long-term relationship, but you can have a friendship and you have some effective communication. So anyway, that's all I got for that one, brother. We can move on to the next one if you want to.
Wait, I just thought of something. This is the last one. Then we're
Okay,
gonna
go
move
ahead.
on. So,
That's all right. You all right.
In addition to that is when you're forcing someone to converse with you because of a specific problem. Now, depending on what it is that we're talking about, some things shouldn't have to wait. Some things needs to get talked about immediately. The problem that most of us have in a sense is sometimes if we can't think about what we want to say, if we can't articulate our words because we're angry, then that's not always a good thing. Because if I say, hey, I'm pissed off right now, I need a little bit of time, give me like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, and then we can come back to it. You like, nah, we're going to talk about it right now. We're going to do this right now. That's not always a good thing. And I get it. Sometimes you in the moment and you need answers, you need these things, but you got to understand the bigger picture. If you're forcing me to talk and I clearly just allotted to you that I can't articulate my words because all I see is red, well, then now, again, I'm not thinking clearly because I'm pissed off. So now I'm going to tell you stuff that you want to hear, in a sense. Sometimes it might be hurtful. Sometimes it might be X, Y, and Z. And again, it's not purposely. And again, I'm not making excuses, but this is one of the reasons why you have to understand just because you would do something in that situation don't necessarily mean that your partner is subjected to do that as well. If your partner is telling you right then and there, like, hey, we gotta come back to this in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They're giving you a time. They're telling you what the problem is, and they're not pushing it under the rug, and they're not dismissing it. They essentially telling you like, "Hey, we're gonna come back to this. Let me cool down. Let me gather my thoughts. Let me X, Y, and Z, and then we can converse to whatever the problem is." So it's just a good practice for those of you who wasn't aware of it.
That's very key though, because that's something that you should already have a plan for that, because you know it's going to happen. It's not a maybe. That's going to happen. So you should already have a plan up front of how you're going to deal with that. But most importantly, the one thing that came to my mind when you said that was, don't send me out the house with you yelling at me. Don't send me out the house to go to work like that. We should try our best never to do that to one another, because it's going to cause problems. I'm just telling you, because you can't hide your mood when you go to work. You can think you hide it. You go into the office and somebody see you coming in. Oh, what? Oh, you okay? What's going on with you today? And it starts out like that innocently at first. And
Oh Lord.
I'm just keeping it real.
Oh Lord.
You have to take responsibility for your portion of that as well. Because sometimes you send your sheep out to deal with the wolves when you send them out of the house like that. So I would say we never send each other out of the house angry, mad, upset, because all you're doing is you're chipping away at your foundation so someone else can be outside of the house trying to put that foundation back together. Unintentionally, those things happen sometimes. So just be mindful of that. Make sure you take care of one another and try not to do that to your spouse, because that's not a good place to be in. All right, now I'm good now.
And again, listen, not justifying anything, but if we're being honest, that's normally how things start, right? And again, I know what y'all saying. If you strong minded, if you love this person, but when you're going through those emotions, you don't know how to regulate that in a sense. This is what, in a sense, happening because men need outlets, and if you say that it's a safe space, and then we try to utilize that, and it don't feel that way, and you send us out the house, like Big Bro said, the first person who gives us any type of concern and meaning, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna talk about it. So just kind of keep that in mind.
And I know people are saying that it shouldn't be that way, but we're all human. Things happen, and you don't even think it's happening until it happens, because you think it's just someone caring about you, looking out for you, and before you know it, you're talking about things that you probably shouldn't even be talking to that person about. So just think about it. Be open minded about it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not giving anyone a license to do anything wrong. I'm just saying that you have to think about that when you send that person out of the house, and if I'm doing it to my spouse or my lady or whatever, I have to think about the same thing, because you're gonna have what they call them back in the movie. You have Dexter out there waiting on her. You
Oh
know,
Lord.
hey, what's going on, my lady? You know, so but yeah, so just think about that, and just something to think about and talk about in your relationship.
I'm good with that
I
one.
saw it. Yes, sir. You are. All right. The last one we're going to talk about should fathers who aren't involved from the child's birth be on the birth certificates. This came up, I forgot where this came up, but I was talking about this somewhere, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk about. I think we came up in my little personal thing, and it caused a lot of discussion. It was a lot of discussion going on about it, and I just wanted to introduce it. So do you want to touch on it? Or you want me to jump on it?
Man, that's tough, especially being a father. That is tough. I'll tell you this though, and this is no absolutes. This is only my thinking. It's tough because it's always two sides to a story. I just want people to understand that it's always two sides to a story. And if for whatever reason you the single parent, or you the one who has the kids, and this is goes for men and our women, this is what I don't agree with. I don't agree with telling kids negative aspect about the other parent. That's just me personally. I would never do that. I would never talk bad to my kids about their mom in a sense. That's just not my personality. I don't want to paint a picture for them. I want them to get their own perspective. And I'll tell you this, just what everyone else said. When a dad wants to be there or mom wants to be present, they'll be present. There are things that could possibly stop that to a certain extent, i.e., you deployed or your job has taken you overseas. But even with that, there's still some type of form of communication that can happen. But going back to the actual question, do you think that the kids should have the last name of the father who's not present? Man, that's tough. And I only say that from a father's perspective because imagine just having kids and not wanting to be in their life. Imagine not, you having these kids and you just like, I don't want anything to do with. And again, there's always two sides to a story. I'm not justifying that, but there are some reasons that men believe for it to be wrong. And for an example, let's just say that we're in a relationship, and let's just say the two of you have already agreed that you don't want kids. It's an agreement, right? Again, this is just gonna sound a little off to some of y'all, but be open minded. And let's say that you both agree with that, and then let's say that for whatever reason you get pregnant. All right, let's just say it, because again, it takes two people to get pregnant. All right, let's say that you get pregnant, and we've already agreed that we didn't want kids. Let me back up. Let's just say that you had steps, you implemented steps so that you can ensure that you don't get pregnant. Right? And then for whatever reason, you end up getting pregnant, right? Because we say birth control and things work 96% of the time, 97% of the time. And with that being said, we've already agreed that, hey, if this was to happen at a certain, like, what I'm saying, we're not gonna have kids. And then you have a change of heart. And then you saying, nah, I want my kid, I want to keep that kid, even though you both decided that you're not gonna have a kid. But now, since it's your body, your choice, in a sense, again, please don't take this the wrong way and don't twist my words. I'm just giving you an example. It's your body, it's your choice, and now you like, nah, I don't care about you. You ain't got to be there. I'm gonna take care of the kid myself, even though you both agreed that wouldn't be the case. And then it happens, right? You see a year or two down the line, and you see this person, you're like, oh, this is harder than I thought. I can't do this by myself. I want him to be present. I want him to pay child support, or I want him to be active. Now, this is what I mean when I say it's tough, because once you already agreed on something, etc., right, and then you both agreed on it, I mean to a T, and then the opposite happens, and then now you're forcing somebody to do something that they didn't agree to do. I'm not justifying it, because I know what we say, like, listen, how can you still throw that child away or throw this away when you the father and you knowingly you the father? I get it, but it happens in real life. Big bro, what you got? Because, man, that's tough.
Yeah, it is very tough. It is very tough. And I can say this, let me say this right up front. It's going to be situational for anything that you do, but there are reasons why you would and reasons why you wouldn't. I know some people may say it's an absolute yes, do it. But just think about this. For instance, I have a brother. He goes to jail, right? And he's in prison, but he has a kid right before he goes in. And he's going to be in there for a long, long time. Do you put it on there then? Yes or no? I'm just throwing it out there. Not to you, Legend. That's just a rhetorical question. It's just out there because there are things that you have to take care of on business on the outside that you always have to get their permission. It ain't like you can just call them up and get their permission. Oh yeah, can you put this? Can you do this or can you do that? So it's a big consideration to make. And I know that's an extreme circumstance, but you can have that in everyday life. I just wanted to say it so to get the thought process out there that there are some reasons why you may not be able to put it on there, and you may not want to. If you have an absent father and you put it on there, how can every time you make a decision about your child and you don't know where that father is, you have to try to find that father? Every time you make a decision about things that are going on for that father. So it's things you have to think about, and you may have to go against the grain and not do it. Because if you have to contact them, and like Legendary said, if they don't want to be there and you can't find them, now you have to go through a lot of different court proceedings just to get them to agree, allow you to do something that you know is the best thing for the child. You know that person doesn't want to be there. So I think it's something you have to think about, and there are going to be situations where you may not want it on there. Now, I can say that if a father is willing to be there, absolutely, they should be on the birth certificate. That's not even a question about that. But because there are a whole lot of benefits that come along with the father being on the birth certificate, financial, long-term, all of the healthcare, all kinds of things that you have to worry about. So I would just say, just have an open mind while we're talking about this subject, because there are going to be times where you may be put in a position, not you, not the people in the chat, the people outside the chat, where they may be in a situation where they probably should put the father on the birth certificate.
I just want to put a little bit more emphasis on you needing the other parent's permission. For those of you who don't know, if that's the case, right, and you trying to take the kid out the country, like, you have to understand, like, the only way for you to do that is if the other parent gives you permission to do that, right? Which is in a sense, sometimes, like, you just you having this fling and things get out of hand, and then you end up having a kid, and you're like, hey, we should have did this, but hey, it's here now, but we're not gonna be together. In a sense, like if you want to make those decisions and he's on that birth certificate, in a sense, like there are just certain things that you can't decisions you can't make without the other parent, especially when we're talking about taking them out the country. Like there's all type of paperwork that you need permission, and then you got to get authorized by attorney, all those things. So this is something else that you have to keep in mind as well.
I'm a kid. I'm a product of although the person was right there in the same city, no name on the birth certificate. I see him all the time. Wouldn't even talk to me, but that's okay though. I turned out all right though. And my mom didn't have to worry about a lot of those negative things neither. You know, she was able to make decisions for me. My grandmother was there; she was able to do the same thing, so she didn't have to worry about that. But we knew who it was, and it didn't cause any issues for me. You know, so just you have to keep an open mind about it, and just as realize that you have to. In that instance, it's not a personal decision; it's a business decision. You have to think about it as a business because now you're thinking long term about the different implications and things that can happen if you need that person, but they're not there. On the flip side, though, if they're there and like I said and available, then by all means they should be.
This is the last thing I'm off about this, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way. But when men tell you they don't want to be a father, or when men tell you they don't want kids, believe them. All right, and again, I don't want you to put yourself in a situation to where it's like, oh, I can change him, or hey, if I do get pregnant, he gonna change, or when the baby do come, he gonna see the baby differently, he gonna want to stay there. Don't, man, you know what I'm saying? Because now you're making these decisions off of emotions and hope, and unfortunately, that's not the case. When a man tells you he don't want no kids, believe him. And if you still like, nah, heck nah, you did what you did, so you're gonna take some accountability in this aspect. I understand that. And again, I'm not making excuses and I'm not unjustifying anything, but this is where things turn wrong. And everything's left on you, and then now you feel some kind of way because you thought and you hoped that this guy would change it. He already told you that he wasn't gonna change it. And again, I'm not justifying his situation. I'm just genuinely just helping you understand what it looks like on the outside looking in. If somebody tells you like, hey man, you know what I'm saying, like I'm just trying to have a good time with you, believe them. You know what I mean? Like seriously, if somebody tells you that, it's man, like, hey, look, man, you X, Y, and Z. I just want to have a good time. I don't want no kids. I don't want this. I don't want this. And then you know what I'm saying. You consistently have these good times, and then you're like, oh, maybe I like him a little bit more than I thought, and maybe he's already consistently telling you he's not going to be there. You know what I'm saying? X, Y, and Z. Don't put yourself through that.
I work in, as you already know, Legendary. I work in public health, and I talk to a lot of people that come in that have STIs. I say it like that. And the best thing you can do when a man just wants to have a good time, they have to have a good time and take care of themselves and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. Because as you said, that scenario is so real where someone's feelings may have changed and now they're thinking that, if they have a child, that now that may change that other person's mind as well, but they're just trying to have a good time. So I always tell people when they say I didn't mean for it to happen, I always ask them, what were you doing to prevent it other than doing what you were doing? Because there's no way for it to happen if you don't allow it to happen for the man and the woman. That's just the way it is.
This has nothing to do with what we talked about in a sense, but I always be thinking about this. Like, when did the switch happen to where it's more comfortable to have a kid but not get married? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know. No. For me,
been curious about that.
Yeah, for me, and I'm just being, real talk is it would never be comfortable for me because of how I grew up. I would always want to be there for the child, but I think it's more of it's irresponsible for people to do that, to just have kids and not think about the implications of what that's going to be for the child. A lot of times, the people, I think they're being selfish when they do that. When it's not an accident per se, because it's really not an accident because you're doing what you can do to have kids, but when it's unexpected. I understand that. But if you're out there trying to have kids and you're not sure if the father's going to be there, I'm not saying that a woman cannot raise a child by themselves. I'm saying that you're shorting the child if the father and the mother can't be together. I'm not saying that a child can't be okay without the father around or the mother around, because Legendary has raised his daughters and I was raised by a single mother. But what I'm saying, though, is it's beneficial. It's been proven statistically that it's beneficial to have the mother and the father involved in the child's life. So I think it's more of a irresponsible thing if people are doing that. And I think that it's wrong for the child because they're not thinking about the child, they're just thinking about themselves.
That's tough. And it's just so easy to just, what I'm saying, just utilize flesh and end up getting pregnant and then having a kid and then. But you mentioned anything about marriage that's like taboo now. It's like, what? Why would we do that when we can have all? And I just be like, why is it so acceptable to have kids versus you just getting married? I mean, I'm just always curious about that. That's just, I don't know.
Man, it's been a steady breakdown of the family dynamics over the years, and I think we're at the tipping point now where it's rare out there, because we've talked about before in the past about being in a neighborhood where it was like a village, right? Just because your mama was at work 10 miles across town, you had five other big mamas in your neighborhood that could tear you up just like your mom could tear you up. You don't have that anymore. You have
Man.
kids that are running around doing what they want to do, latchkey kids coming home by themselves. And there's nothing wrong with it if that's what you have to do. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about the bigger picture is that, I mean, I couldn't do anything wrong in the neighborhood, no matter what part of the neighborhood I went to, because someone knew my mama and they had a green light to put something on me if I was getting out of line and correct me. So we have really lost that over the years, man. And I don't know how to get that back. And I think we can get that back by having these type of conversations we're having now, one conversation at a time, and help people start thinking that way. But it's just so many different dynamics that go into that. It's not even funny though. But it's been a steady breakdown of it, and I think that's what it's led to though. Being comfortable having kids without having a father there, or being comfortable saying I'm gonna have a kid and giving it to the father, and I'm gone. So that happens all the time also.
Like going back to what you're saying, right? It takes a village to raise a kid, man. I remember it just like it was yesterday, man. I did something bad outside, and my neighbors saw it. Man, my neighbors would tear me up, and then they'll tell my mom when she got off, and she'll whoop me again for the exact same thing. But when you think of the cultural shift and the mentality that's changed, and I'm not saying social media is the main, but this is where a lot of us nowadays are getting our information from. It's taboo. It's more so of like, if you see a kid disrespecting an adult in Walmart, most of us are just pass by. It's gonna be like, oh, it's not my kid, it's not mine, it's not that. Like, I'm not gonna correct them. And the implication of you doing so is sometimes, it can be life threatening, right? Somebody might take it the wrong way and they're like, hey, you mind your business. And then next thing you know, somebody take out a pew pew and you just trying to stop the kid from disrespecting an adult, and then you get pew pew. Another one is more so of like some parents, regardless of the situation, they'll defend their kid even though they know their kid is wrong. I don't understand that either. If your kid's wrong, tell them they're wrong. This is why I keep telling people give kids hot buns. And I understand some of you is gonna be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna whoop my child. Everything don't deserve whooping." I'm not saying it does, but what I am saying is some things do require you to give your kids hot buns. And then the last thing is more so the same type of scenario, but it's just people are just so passive when it comes to just watching disrespect. And us growing up and your grandma, what you if you don't even say yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, you wouldn't have no teeth in your mouth. And again, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's just like the culture, like how we was raised. And then now, you in Walmart and you seeing these kids disrespecting adults and cursing and throwing stuff, and you just see everyone else just passing by, just willy-nilly, like it's not my problem. I'm not gonna say nothing. Don't bother me. That's just crazy to me.
Hey, this is so I would say 98% of the time we on the same page, right? But if I'm in Walmart with you and you start stepping someone with a kid, I'm walking away.
All right, listen.
Cause,
I don't know.
somebody have to call a man and come get this because I'm not getting involved in that stuff, man.
Listen, I don't know. This is the only thing that I'm willing to stand on when it comes. I do not like seeing kids disrespect adults. I don't know why I'm wired this way, but I do not like it. I don't. And for me to just see it and me not say, like, I have to say something. And I understand the situation I'm putting myself in, but it's more so of like, this was how I was raised. You ain't gonna talk back to you're not gonna talk back to no adult. I'm an adult.
I do agree with you, but a lot of times they allow those things to go on at home.
Facts.
So it's not for me to try to tell them how to raise their child because they're allowing them to go on in public. They're probably allowing them to go on at home. And I'm going to end up getting in trouble for trying to do the right thing. Now, If it's a family member or kids, that's a different story. But if it's some total strangers in Walmart,
Yeah.
I'ma think it. Oh man, why they letting that kid be that way? But I am not. And I'm gonna say legendary. Legendary. That third time, legendary. All right, I'm
Yo.
yeah, legendary. You remember that story you told about the guy? You told it on live too about the guy that you guys were somewhere and they pulled out something on y'all and you was
Oh
trying to
yeah,
get in the logo. That's
yeah,
how
yeah,
you gonna be.
yeah.
Legendary. Legendary. All right, I'll be in the
And,
car. I'm gonna call somebody to come get you, boy.
and again though, on a serious note though, but that's where you know what I'm saying. Some of the, in my own opinion, that's where some of the problems lie because it's like if you do get involved, there's so many things that could go wrong. You know, like genuinely speaking, like I definitely understand that. It's just something in me. Listen, hey, little Tommy, you better get your ass up. You ain't gonna talk to your mom like that around me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just something that's wired. And for the most part, even though this gonna sound like an oxymoron, for the most part, I genuinely try not to do it. But enough be a goddamn enough, right? Enough, just be enough. And I gotta say something. But yeah, it's tough though. It is tough. It is tough. Listen, and again, I understand the position that I put myself in when I do
Hey, I understand. I'll be right there. I'll take the phone out to make sure I capture that you was trying to do the right thing.
this. That's tough. Hey, just make sure you bail me out.
I got you. I'll come get you.
But yeah, that's
But anyway,
yeah, that's pretty much fine.
yeah, me too. Anything else on that topic? We good?
I think we're good on
I
that.
like that. That's what's up.
Is there an option for a birth certificate to be edited?
To be edited? I
Yep.
don't know. I don't know if you mean like edited, but you can definitely get things changed on there with court documents. As long as you have court documents, you can get things changed. Like so, like the name, the actual father. Because I was in that situation, and I had to get my second oldest kid last name changed to mine and those things. So if you mean in that aspect, then yeah. But you do need court paperwork, and it needs to, you know what I'm saying, be signed off by a judge and et cetera. Then you take that to I don't the edit part is kind of throwing me off. But yeah, you can definitely change things that's on birth certificates, and that's with the parent agreeing or not. Just so you know that, because once the judge sign off on it, it's gonna happen.
The next question was, what about the appropriate time to communicate? And then it says, don't have these convos over the phone.
Mm.
Me, for the appropriate time to communicate is when you meet that person. That's when you start trying to communicate appropriately and open and honest. It doesn't take any time to wait till later on down the road. I'm not saying I say this all the time. I'm not saying regurgitate your whole life story on the first night you go on a date with them, but you should start building up that communication the first time you spend some time with the person that you are trying or that you're interested in. That should start automatically, so that way it's the norm. It's not something that you're trying to build up and get used to a year down the road or 6 months down the road. As far as the timing is right now. It's no, in my opinion, just my opinion alone, it's no better time than the first time to start building that open, honest communication.
And then just to add on to that, right? I think what we kind of relating to is more so of like those type of conversations, in a sense, shouldn't for the most part be had over text or over video call, etc. I mean, I think video call be more appropriate, but this is something that you really need to have face to face because people can kind of interpret what they want to interpret through text. If that makes sense. You don't really get the full picture. You don't really get to see their body language or how they're actually speaking, or their tone and their inflation of their voice, and all those things matter when we talk about sitting down and having a productive and effective communication or talking to. It's important for you to get the full picture. There's going to be some circumstances to where video chat is appropriate, but for the most part, you genuinely want to sit down. And the crazy part about it is tough. Like a lot of people, in a sense, you're like, hey man, you're an adult, you should be able to do this. But for a lot of people, it's tough to do that. But it's just more so of you being open minded, like, hey, I'm used to being in my own comfort zone. But in this aspect, you got to understand, like, hey, this is things that need to be had. This is required. You need to have those hard discussions. You need to have those uncomfortable situations and those uncomfortable conversations.
Right. And the reason I emphasize open, honest communication all the time is because if you're open and honest, if the other person is open and honest about it, now you both can make informed decisions about whether you want to go ahead with your relationship or not. I understand that people are not always honest. I get that. But that doesn't stop me from being open and honest about my expectations and what I want in our conversation, our relationship. So I would say always be open and honest from the very beginning and demand that. Don't ask that. Demand that from the person that you're talking to also to be open and honest with you about the communication because that's going to give you the information that you need to determine from your initial assessment of whether that person is someone worthy enough to spend your time with. So it has to be open and honest from the very beginning.
The last question is, when should $500 be discussed?
Oh, you mean with the budgeting aspect?
Yes.
Realistically, right? It's not like you're gonna be spending $500 every day, or every other day, or every week. This is just things that I feel like people deserve. So, for an example, like I understand that we're saving, but it shouldn't be so extreme to where you don't deserve to get things done for yourself. That's really much what it is. It's just, and I don't want to say reward yourself, but you've worked hard. It's okay for you to go get a purchase for yourself that's $500 or something along those lines. Anytime that happens, though, I feel like you should sit down and talk about it. But if we're being realistic, I don't see. This is just me. I don't see my significant other, my partner, my girlfriend. Well, I should say wife because I ain't doing no joint account with no girlfriend. But I don't see my significant other in that aspect spending $500 every day or every week. You know what I mean? And if that is the case, this is why Big Bro said we gonna sit down and we gonna discuss this budgeting option. Like, hey, we gotta adjust some stuff because right now we don't have any income coming in like that for you to just be X, Y, and Z and money out freely like that. You know what I'm saying? So this is why what Big Bro said it's important for you to have those monthly sit downs when it comes to the budgeting aspect.
Yeah, and I think Legendary alluded to it a little bit. He's only talking about when you're in a serious committed relationship or you're married, and mainly married to be engaged
Right,
to be
right.
married. It's not going to be about girlfriend and boyfriend. We're not talking about finances. We don't have finances together. Now we may do things to help out one another every now and then, things like that. But the money is not going into one pot until we're both under the same roof and we somebody has the last name. The last names are the same as well. And I do believe in the 500 because I go golfing. I like to golf. I need that 500 a month to go golfing. Actually, it was 500 every 2 weeks for me. So I need that because I golf. Look here. Well, we've enjoyed you all coming in tonight. Since there are no more questions, thank you all for coming in. This is our 13th episode. You can go over to YouTube, look at our bios, all four of our bios, and check it out and subscribe to it. You don't have to subscribe, but we prefer you subscribe because eventually we're going to be moving over to there. My boy Legendary will be coming back to the States here pretty soon. So we're going to be going on a more consistent basis, and we will have a definite time weekly that or whatever we decide, but it may be once or twice. We will see, but it's definitely gonna be at least once a week where we'll set a firm time. But right now we do flip flop each week from morning to nighttime, just because of the schedule. Pretty soon here, he's going to be getting down to the last few days, and I'll let him talk about that a little bit. So we may take off a few days just to let him get his life together because it's a lot of the stuff that he has to do to get back from Korea to the States. So thank y'all for coming in tonight. We appreciate you all always coming by and supporting us. Go over there and subscribe to our YouTube page. All right, my brother.
Yeah, as always, listen, it's always a pleasure to come up here and do our podcast. Big shout out to Eyes and Lee for holding down on the ones and twos as always. For those of you who missed the podcast that we had with the doc that's in here, she's going to post it on her YouTube. I'm not sure if we're going to have it on ours or not, but it was a great discussion. Again, honored to be on there and give our perspective as far as the Love Lab goes. If you missed that was a great podcast. Definitely enjoyed it. Big Bro gave his perspective as well as mine. I'm in Korea. I'm getting ready to head back to the States. Lord, it's time. It's time. I love Korea. Nothing negative to say about Korea. It's just not home. And just what Big Bro was alluding to is more so like I started transitioning here on the 6th and the 7th of April. So when I get back to the States, obviously I'm gonna see my kids, spend time with my family enough. So, long story short, we might take a week or two off from the podcast just so that I can get my life situated and settled in, and then of course we'll be back with the podcast. But yeah, other than that, we appreciate y'all for consistently showing up and showing out as always. And then yeah, that's pretty much all I have. If y'all don't have anything else,
All right, we can go ahead and close it out then.
hey. As always, thank y'all. Just what Big Bro said, make sure you go check out the YouTube channel. All right, listen, we growing, and it's a wonderful feeling. Y'all go out and be great. Enjoy your Saturday night, Sunday morning, and be the reason someone smiles. As always, y'all be safe.
Peace, one love.